The grand chamber floated high above the swirling blue nebula of Kalar Prime, a place where the oldest species in the galaxy met to decide the fate of stars. The chamber itself was a perfect sphere made of living crystal that glowed soft purple when important words were spoken. Inside sat representatives from 47 worlds, each one strange and proud in their own way. At the center of the circle stood Vorak, the Kral ambassador. His skin was dark gray like cooled lava, and his eyes burned red. He wore armor that moved with him like a second skin. Sharp spikes rose from his shoulders to show his rank. Vorak raised one thick arm, and the chamber fell quiet. Even the soft hum of the crystal stopped. "Humans must be stopped," he said in a voice like grinding stones. "They grow too fast. They spread like fire in dry grass. Their ships appear in systems we claimed long ago. Their colonies multiply without asking permission. Their minds are wild and dangerous. The Kral have watched them for 50 cycles. Now we say enough." A low murmur moved through the chamber. Some nodded, others looked away. The Sci-Fi ambassador spread her wide, feathered wings. She was tall and thin. Her beak clicked softly as she spoke. "These soft creatures fight among themselves. They cannot even rule one small planet. How can they threaten the order we built over thousands of years?" The Voon representative floated in a tank of clear liquid. His body looked like pale jelly with glowing blue veins inside. He sent thoughts instead of words, and every mind in the room felt them at once. Their emotions are loud and messy. They feel fear and anger and joy all at once. It makes them unpredictable. We do not like unpredictable. Vorak turned his head slowly, his red eyes swept over the circle. "I do not ask for opinions. I inform you. The Kral fleet has already left our shipyards, 300 warships strong. They move toward the human core systems. This is not war. It is correction. A small action to teach. Respect." The chamber exploded with noise. The crystal walls flashed bright red, then dimmed again. The insectoid Thrin clicked their mandibles fast. The reptilian Zorath hissed loud enough to hurt ears. Even the calm Gelid, who never spoke, raised their translucent hands in shock. "You act without council vote," shouted the Sci-Fi ambassador. Her feathers stood straight up. "This breaks the Prime Accord. You cannot move fleets against new members without full agreement." Vorak showed sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. "The Prime Accord allows self-defense. We claim the humans threaten our borders. Our scouts have seen their weapons grow stronger each cycle. We will not wait for them to strike first." A small figure stood near the edge of the circle, unnoticed until now. Dr. Elena Voss, the human diplomat. She wore a plain gray suit with no decorations. Her dark hair was pulled back tight. Her face showed calm lines, but her brown eyes moved quick, taking in every reaction she saw. Listened to every word without speaking. Now she stepped forward, one small step. The chamber quieted a little. All eyes turned to her. Even Vorak paused. Elena spoke in a clear, steady voice. "The humans you speak of are not children playing with fire. We know the Council watches us. We know some species fear what they do not understand. We ask only for time. Time to learn your ways. Time to prove we belong." Vorak laughed a deep, rough sound. "Time you had time. You used it to build weapons you hide from us. You sent probes into Kral space. You mapped our trade routes. Do not pretend innocence." Elena met his gaze without blinking. "We explore, we learn. That is what humans do. We do not hide our ships. We do not strike without cause. If your fleet comes to our worlds, we will defend them. That is all." The Voon thoughts rolled through every mind again. She speaks truth, but underneath lies something else. Something hard. Something that does not bend. The Sci-Fi tilted her head. "Speak boldly for one so small. Your people have only 3 settled worlds. Your fleet numbers less than 50 ships. How will you stand against 300? Elena smiled, just a little, at the corners of her mouth. We have stood against worse things than numbers. Vorak stepped closer. His shadow fell over her. You mock us, human. Your words will not stop plasma. You will beg when our lances burn your cities. Elena did not step back. I do not beg, I warn. If the Crawl attack, we will answer. Not with pleas, with action. The chamber stayed silent for a long moment. Then the Gelid representative made a soft chime sound, the sign they wished to speak. All turned to listen. The Gelid voice came like wind through glass. We have seen new species rise and fall. The Crawl have never lost a war. The humans are young and few. Yet this one stands here without fear. Perhaps there is more to them than we see. Vorak waved a hand in anger. Fear or no fear, they will break. In 10 cycles, they reach human space. In 20 cycles, human worlds will burn. In 30 cycles, the Council will thank the Crawl for removing a danger. Elena folded her hands in front of her. In 30 cycles, we will see who thanks who. She turned and walked toward the exit tunnel. Her steps were slow and even. No one stopped her. The crystal floor glowed soft green under her boots, a color few had seen before. It meant respect, or maybe warning. No one knew for sure. As the doors closed behind her, Vorak spoke again. This ends now. The Crawl will bring order. The humans will learn their place. The Silethi folded her wings tight. I hope you are right, Ambassador. I truly do. Because if you are wrong, the galaxy changes forever. The Voon thoughts came last and quiet. The human smiled when she left. That smile holds something we have not felt in many cycles. It feels like the moment before a storm breaks. Far below, on the surface of Kalar Prime, a small human shuttle waited. Engines already warm. Elena climbed inside and sat in the pilot's seat. She touched a hidden panel. A blue screen lit up. She typed fast. To UTC Command, Priority 1, Crawl Fleet inbound. Estimated arrival, 10 cycles. Prepare all defenses. Project Prometheus stays dark until my signal. They think us weak. Let them keep thinking that. She sent the message, then leaned back. The shuttle rose smooth and silent into the black. Between the stars, she allowed herself one small, real smile. The Council had no idea what was coming. 10 cycles passed faster than anyone expected. The Crawl Armada dropped out of jump space at the edge of human territory, like a storm cloud made of metal. 300 warships spread wide in perfect formation. Their hulls gleamed black and silver under distant starlight. Each ship carried enough firepower to crack a moon open. The Crawl believed the sight alone would make humans kneel. First target was Outpost Epsilon 7, a mining colony on a rocky moon called Harrow. The colony had 1,200 souls, mostly families who dug rare metals for Earth's factories. When the Crawl arrived, the warning sirens screamed for 30 seconds before the first lance strike hit. The beam sliced through the main habitat dome like a hot knife through cloth. Air rushed out in a white cloud. People inside had no time to reach suits. Bodies floated free among broken furniture and drifting tools. Crawl drop pods followed next. Hundreds of armored warriors landed fast. Moon's thin ice. They moved in tight squads, weapons raised high. The surviving miners tried to fight back with mining lasers and explosive charges. A few Crawl fell, chests burned open by bright beams, but most human weapons bounced off the thick armor. The Crawl laughed as they advanced. Their laughter echoed in helmet speakers, cold and sharp. On the command ship Resolute, Admiral Khalid Hassan watched the battle feeds. His dark eyes narrowed under thick brows. Smoke from his coffee cup rose slow in zero gravity. He gripped the armrests until his knuckles turned white. Status report, he said, calm but firm. Lieutenant Mara Chen stood at tactical. Her fingers flew over the holo display. Epsilon 7 is gone, sir. Crawl ground forces report total control. They lost 11 soldiers. We lost everyone. Khalid nodded once. No survivors. None, sir. Chen's voice stayed steady, but her hand shook a little. Khalid turned to the main screen. The Crawl fleet moved inward now, toward the sea. Inner colonies. Their path pointed straight at Earth. He spoke quiet so only the bridge crew heard. They think this ends quick. They think we break easy. They are wrong. Across the system, on a hidden asteroid base called Shadow 1, Elena Voss arrived in her small shuttle. She stepped out into a cold corridor, lit by dim blue strips. Engineers and soldiers saluted quick. She returned the salute, then walked fast toward the central chamber. Inside waited General Tariq Malik, a tall man with gray hair and a scar across his left cheek. He greeted her with a firm grip. "They hit Epsilon," he said. "No warning, no terms, just fire." Elena nodded. "I saw the feeds on the way here. The council still debates. They call it a policing action. Some even believe the Crawl lies about our threat." Malik snorted. "Policing? They glassed a colony of families. That is not police, that is slaughter." Elena looked at the holomap that floated in the center. Red dots showed Crawl positions. Blue dots showed human defenses. Most blue dots looked small and scattered. "We activate Stage 1 now," she said. "Project Prometheus stays hidden, but we use everything else." Malik smiled, thin and dangerous. "Everything else includes a few surprises the Council never approved." On the colony world of New Dawn, the Crawl landed next. This time, humans were ready. Militia units waited in hidden bunkers. Civilians rigged traps with farm equipment turned deadly. A Crawl scout squad walked into a field of wheat. Tall golden stalks hid pressure plates, connected to buried charges. When the first warrior stepped wrong, the ground erupted in fire and metal shards. 3 Crawl died instant. 6 more limped away, screaming in their language. Above orbit, human frigates darted in fast attacks. They used small fast ships, nicknamed Wasps. Each carried missiles tipped with shaped plasma. The Wasps flew erratic paths, dodging Crawl point defense. They struck at weak points in the big ship's armor: joints, sensor arrays, engine. Thence one Wasp squadron lost 8 ships, but took down a Crawl cruiser. The burning wreck tumbled slow toward the planet, trailing fire like a comet. Crawl commanders grew angry. They expected fear, not resistance. One captain broadcast to all human channels: "Surrender now and live. Kneel and we spare your cities. Fight and we burn every world to ash." No human answered with words. Instead, a lone freighter loaded with ore changed course. It accelerated straight at the flagship. The Crawl laughed again, thinking it easy prey. Then the freighter exploded close enough to overload shields. The blast wave rocked the big ship, threw it off balance. For the first time, Crawl voices carried confusion. On Resolute, Khalid watched the explosion with quiet pride. That was the cargo hauler Reliance, civilian crew. No military, no escape pods. They chose to die fighting. Chen looked up. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Crawl flagship. Put it on screen." The face of Crawl Admiral Zorath filled the hollow. He was bigger than Vorak, with more spikes on his armor. His red eyes glowed bright. "You primitives fight like insects. You sting, but you die easy. Surrender now, or we glass your blue world next." Khalid leaned forward, slow. His voice came calm and clear. "We do not kneel, Admiral. We do not beg. You came to our home uninvited. You killed our people without cause. Now you learn what humans do when pushed. You learn the hard way." Zorath showed teeth. "We outnumber you 10 to 1. Our weapons burn stars. Your toys break against our hulls." Khalid smiled, small but real. "Toys. You will see toys soon. Enough to make your council regret this day." The transmission cut. Zorath's laugh lingered in the air like poison. Elena stood on Shadow 1, watching her own feeds. She saw the civilian freighter ram. She saw militia traps spring. She saw wasps dance through enemy fire. Her chest felt tight with pride and sorrow. "They underestimate us because we look soft," she said to Malik. "Because we laugh and cry and argue. Because we build families and farms, they think that makes us weak." Malik crossed his arms. "It makes us dangerous. When everything else fails, we still fight for what matters." Elena touched the holomap. Her finger traced a line from the asteroid belt to Mars. "The next phase begins soon. We draw them in, we bleed them. We show the galaxy what happens when you attack humanity." On the Krull flagship, Zorath stared at damage reports. His fleet lost 12 ships already, more than expected. His warriors spoke in low voices about the humans who fought without fear. Some even charged alone against squads. Others blew themselves up to take one more Krull with them. "These creatures do not break," he muttered. "They bend, they twist, they come back harder." A subordinate approached, cautious. "My lord, shall we call for reinforcements?" Zorath thought long, then shook his head. "No, we crush them here. We show the council our strength. If we call for help now, look weak." He turned back to the viewport. Earth glowed blue and fragile in the distance. Soon, he thought, soon they will kneel. But deep in his chest a small cold doubt grew. The doubt whispered that maybe, just maybe, the humans had something the Krull never faced before. Something that did not come from weapons or numbers. Something born in chaos and will. Far away on Earth, crowds gathered in city squares. They watched the same fiends everyone else did. They saw colonies burn. They saw friends die. Yet no one ran. No one hid. Instead, they volunteered for service. They donated ships. They built more weapons. Factories ran day and night. Lights stayed on in every workshop. A young girl no more than 12 stood on a rooftop with her father. She pointed at the sky where flashes of battle lit the dark. "Will we win, Dad?" she asked. Her father lifted her onto his shoulders. "We always win, sweetheart, because we never stop trying." Above them, a human fighter streaked past engines, roaring. It headed out to join the fight. One more spark against the storm. The galaxy watched, and for the first time in many cycles, the old species felt something new. They felt surprise. They felt unease. They felt the first hint that maybe the Krull had made a terrible mistake. The asteroid belt stretched wide between Mars and Jupiter. A dark sea of rocks, tumbling slow in endless black. The Krull fleet pushed deeper, chasing what they thought was a broken enemy. Admiral Zorath stood on his bridge, eyes fixed on the main display. Human ships appeared, then vanished, quick small flashes that stung, but never stayed long enough to kill. He growled low in his throat. "These pests will not hide forever." On the Resolute, Admiral Khalid Hassan studied the same belt. His plan needed perfect timing. He spoke quiet to his officers. "We draw them in deep. We use the rocks as cover. Every asteroid becomes a weapon." Lieutenant Mara Chen nodded. "Sir, recon drones report Krull formations tight. They stay close for mutual defense. That works for us." Khalid turned to navigation. "Plot course through Sector 9. We make them chase the bait." The bait was a small group of human frigates. They flew slow on purpose, engines flaring bright to look damaged. The Krull took the hook. Squadrons broke off and followed fast. Their lances lit the dark, chasing shadows. Deep in the belt, hidden outposts waited. Human crews had lived there for months, turning cold stone into fortresses. Miners who once drilled for iron now aimed railguns loaded with dense nickel slugs. Engineers rigged old cargo haulers with massive springs that could fling boulders at high speed. When the Krull squadrons entered the kill zone, the first surprise came. A quiet signal traveled through the belt. Outposts fired together. Hundreds of kinetic slugs raced out, silent and invisible until they hit. Krull shields flared bright, then cracked. Armor plates tore open in long, ugly gashes. Atmosphere vented in white plumes. 3 destroyers died instant, spinning apart in pieces. Zorath roared on his bridge. "What is this? They use rocks as bullets?" His tactical officer stammered, "Sir, the projectiles move at .8 light speed. We cannot track them in time." Then the second wave hit. Haulers released their loads. Thousands of small asteroids accelerated by electromagnetic coils slammed into the fleet. Some shattered against hulls. Others punched clean through. Others tumbled end over end, taking off turrets and sensor arrays. The Crawl lost another 20 ships in minutes. Confusion spread through their ranks. On Shadow 1, Elena Voss watched the feeds. Her face stayed calm, but her eyes shone bright. "They bleed now. General, we keep the pressure on." General Tariq Malik stood beside her, arms crossed. "Mars is next. If we hold the Red Planet, we hold the system." Mars waited like a sleeping giant. Red dust covered ancient plains, but under the surface, tunnels ran for hundreds of kilometers. Old mining cities turned into fortresses. Human soldiers moved through dark corridors wearing light armor that blended with rock. They carried rifles modified with alien tech stolen years ago. Plasma rounds glowed blue when fired. Crawl dropships landed hard near Olympus Mons. Warriors poured out, expecting easy victory. Instead, they walked into ambushes. Human snipers waited on high ridges. Shots came from shadows that should have been empty. Ground teams used tunnel networks to appear behind enemy lines, then vanish again. Crawl squads fired wild into empty caves, only to hear echoes of human laughter before grenades rolled back at their feet. One Crawl platoon chased a small human fire team into a narrow canyon. The humans disappeared around a bend. When the Crawl followed, explosives hidden in the walls detonated. Tons of red rock fell fast, crushing armor and bone. The survivors tried to call for help, but jammers blocked every channel. Above orbit, the battle grew fiercer. Human carriers launched fighter swarms, nicknamed Hornets. Small, agile craft danced between Crawl capital ships. They fired micro-missiles that burrowed into weak spots, then exploded inside. Engines died one after another. Crawl point defense could not track the fast targets. Cruiser tried to ram a human carrier. The carrier rolled at the last second, then fired fusion lances point blank. The beams cut deep into the cruiser, splitting it from bow to stern. Fire bloomed silent in vacuum. Debris rained down toward Mars like deadly snow. In the Grand Chamber, the Council watched live feeds for the first time since the war began. The crystal walls glowed steady orange, showing battle images. The Silethi ambassador gripped her perch tight. Her feathers trembled. "This cannot be. The Crawl lose ships faster than we thought possible." The Voon floated silent, but his thoughts rolled heavy through every mind. Their minds burn bright when cornered. They do not flee. They turn and bite harder. A Thrin delegate clicked mandibles slow. "We see humans use tools we discarded as crude. Yet those crude tools break Crawl armor." Vorok stood in his place on the chamber floor. His gray skin looked duller now. He spoke loud to hide fear. "This is temporary. Resources. They cannot sustain this. The Crawl will regroup and finish them." The Gelid chimed soft. "We see no waste. We see calculation. Every move costs the Crawl more. Every human loss seems to make them fight smarter." Elena Voss appeared on a small hollow screen in the chamber. She had requested speaking rights. The Council allowed it grudgingly. She looked straight at Vorak. "Your fleet bleeds, Ambassador. Your warriors die on ground. Your ships burn in orbit. You thought us weak. You thought us prey. Now you learn we defend what is ours. We do not stop until the threat ends." Vorak snarled, "You bluff, human. Your worlds will still burn." Elena smiled, calm. "Perhaps, but first yours will feel fire. We have weapons you never imagined. We hold them back for now. Push harder, and you will see them." She cut the feed, The chamber stayed quiet. The old species looked at each other with new eyes. They saw the same question in every face. What else do the humans hide? Khalid ordered the next phase. We pull back slow. We let them think they win ground. Then we hit the supply lines. Human stealth ships slipped through the chaos. They moved silent, no engines hot, no emissions. They found Krall's supply convoys, slow, fat transports carrying fuel and munitions. One by one the convoys vanished. Quiet explosions marked their graves. Human boarding teams took what they needed, then scuttled the rest. Zorath stared at loss reports. His fleet dropped below 200 ships. Crews whispered in corridors about ghosts in the dark, about humans who fought without fear. His own doubt grew louder. These creatures should have broken by now, yet they grow stronger. On Mars, a young soldier named Rico held position in a tunnel mouth. His squad waited quiet, weapons ready. A Krall squad approached, loud and confident. Rico whispered, "Ready." The Krall stepped into view. Rico fired first. Blue plasma lit the dark. The lead warrior fell, chest smoking. His squad returned fire. Ducked behind cover, then threw a sonic grenade. The blast wave knocked Krall off balance. His team rushed forward, knives out. Close, brutal fighting followed. Blood mixed with dust on the red floor. When it ended, Rico stood over the last Krall. His hands shook, but his voice stayed firm. "We hold this ground, no matter what." Above him, a human destroyer named Defiant turned to face 3 Krall battleships. It fired everything it had: missiles, lances, railguns. The battleships answered with heavy beams. Defiant's shields failed, hull breached, but the captain kept firing until the last moment. One Krall battleship exploded, taking another with it. Defiant drifted dead, but her sacrifice bought time for reinforcements. Elena watched from Shadow 1. Her voice came soft but sure. "The galaxy sees us now. They see we do not break. They see we fight like nothing else in their history." Malik nodded. "And we are just getting started." The belt still burned with battle flashes. Mars held firm. Krall pushed forward, but slower now. Each step cost more. Each victory tasted bitter. Far away in neutral space, traders from small species gathered. They spoke in low voices about the war, about the humans who refused to kneel. Some laughed, nervous, others looked worried. The old order felt cracks forming. Something new rose in its place, something born of human will and human rage. The council chambers glowed dim. The old species waited. They waited to see how far the storm would spread. The Krall home system waited quiet under the light of twin suns. A ring of massive defense platforms circled the main world, tall spires bristling with lance batteries. Below on the surface, cities of black stone rose sharp against red plains. Billions of Krall lived there, proud and sure of their place as conquerors. Now, that certainty cracked. Admiral Khalid Hassan stood on the bridge of Resolute. The ship had slipped through a captured Krall wormhole gate, a risky jump that cost 2 escort frigates. Their sacrifice opened the path. Now the human strike force emerged, close enough to smell the enemy's fear. 5 carriers, 20 destroyers, hundreds of fighters. They came silent at first, then engines roared bright. Zorath stared at his tactical display, in disbelief. Impossible. The humans should be broken. They should be begging at our borders. How did they find the gate? His second officer spoke low. "Sir, scouts report human stealth ships took the relay station to send coordinates. Our own gate betrayed us." Zorath slammed a fist on the console. "Then we crush them here. This is our home. No retreat, no mercy. Fire everything." Krall platforms lit up. Lances stabbed out in thick beams. Human shields flared under the assault. Resolute rocked hard, but held. Khalid ordered steady. Return fire. Focus on the platforms. Use starbreakers. The first antimatter torpedoes left their tubes, slow at first, then accelerated fast. They looked small, harmless until they struck. The impact released pure white light that swallowed whole sections of the defense ring. Metal vaporized in seconds. Platforms crumpled inward like paper in fire. Secondary explosions chained across the orbit, bright enough to cast shadows on the planet below. Human fighters swarmed in next. Hornets darted between the wreckage. They targeted sensor arrays, weapon emplacements, engine ports. Crawl interceptors rose to meet them. Dogfights filled the sky, flashes of plasma and railgun tracers crisscrossed the dark. One Hornet pilot named Lena Reyes flew straight at a Crawl-heavy cruiser. She dodged beams, rolled inverted, then slammed her craft into the bridge tower. The explosion tore a hole straight through the ship. Lena never ejected. She chose the final strike. On the surface, Crawl command bunkers shook. Ground troops rushed to positions, but found something worse. Human hackers had already struck. A virus slipped in during the early skirmishes, now spread through every network. Lights flickered. Weapons refused to fire. Doors locked open. Communication lines screamed static. Panic spread fast among warriors who never knew defeat. Elena Voss watched from a stealth corvette hidden at the edge of the system. She coordinated with teams on the ground. Special forces had landed hours earlier, small groups in black armor. They moved through city underlevels silent as shadows. They planted charges on power nodes. They cut supply lines. They whispered to subjugated workers of other species. Rise now. The Crawl bleed. The humans come. In the grand chamber, the council sat frozen. The crystal walls showed every horror. The Salethi ambassador clutched her perch so tight, feathers snapped. The Voon thoughts came slow and heavy. They reach the Crawl homeworld. They strike the heart. No species has done this in recorded time. Vorok stood alone now. His once proud stance looked small. He shouted at the feeds. This is not possible. The humans cheat. They use forbidden weapons. The council must act. Stop them before they turn on us all. The Gelid chimed soft. We see no cheating. We see skill. We see will. The Crawl attacked first. Now they pay the price. A Zorath delegate hissed low. The humans warned us. They said push harder and see what happens. We did not listen. Elena requested the floor again. The council granted it fast. She appeared on the hollow, calm as ever. Your fleets burn, Ambassador. Your warriors run. Your home faces fire. You started this war thinking humans weak. Now you learn. We defend. We adapt. We finish what others begin. Pull your remaining ships back. Call off the attack. Or we continue until nothing Crawl stands. Vorak snarled. You threaten the council. You dare. Elena met his gaze. I do not threaten. I state fact. Your empire cracks. Your people doubt. Your allies waver. The choice is yours. End this now, or lose everything. She vanished from the screen. The chamber stayed silent. The old species looked at the feeds and saw truth. The Crawl could not win. Not anymore. On the Crawl flagship, Zorath watched his fleet shrink. Below 30 ships remained. Most leaked air. Most carried wounded crews. He opened a channel to the human command ship. This is Admiral Zorath. We demand parley. Khalid appeared on the screen. His face showed lines of exhaustion, but his eyes burned steady. Speak. Zorath swallowed hard. We offer terms. Cease fire. Withdraw. We will pay tribute. We will leave your systems forever. The silence hurt. Then he spoke. You killed civilians. You burned colonies. You thought us prey. Terms come from the victor. We dictate them now. Zorath bowed his head low, a gesture no Crawl had shown in centuries. We accept your terms. Name them. Khalid listed them, clear and firm. Full withdrawal from human space, reparations in ships and resources, public admission of aggression, release of all prisoners, return of stolen tech, no further attacks, no revenge plots, ever. Zorath agreed. His voice broke on the last word. We accept. The transmission ended. Human ships held position. They did not fire again, but they stayed close. A silent promise. If the crawl broke faith, the next visit would end them. On the planet's surface, fighting slowed. Human special forces pulled back. They left messages carved in metal walls. Remember this day. The humans came and the crawl knelt. The subjugated species read those words and felt hope stir. In the council chamber, ambassadors spoke in whispers. The Foon sent thoughts that chilled every mind. The humans thrive in chaos. They turn pain into strength. They do not conquer for glory. They conquer to survive. Then they build. The Silethi folded her wings. We must speak with them. Not as lesser, not as threat, as equals. The Gelid chimed agreement. The order changes. The humans sit at the center now. Elena stood on the Corvette bridge. She watched the crawl ships limp away. One by one they jumped out, leaving silence behind. She turned to her crew. We held. We won. But this is not the end. We prepare for what comes next. Far away on Earth, people gathered in streets. They watched the feeds of victory. Cheers rose high. Flags waved. Children pointed at the sky where battle flashes had faded. Parents hugged tight. They knew the cost. Friends lost. Homes burned. But they also knew the truth. Humanity stood. When everything said fall, humanity rose. Admiral Khalid sat in his chair for the first time in weeks. He allowed himself one deep breath. The war was not over. Not truly, but the worst part ended. He looked at the stars and thought of the young pilot who rammed the cruiser, of the freighter crew who gave everything, of the miners who turned rocks into death. He spoke quiet to the empty bridge. Thank you. On Mars, Rico cleaned his rifle in a tunnel mouth. Dust still clung to his armor. He looked at the red sky and smiled small. We did it, he whispered. We really did it. The galaxy turned slower now. Old powers watched, new respect in their eyes. Traders spoke of human ships in every port. Diplomats requested meetings. Scientists asked to study human tech. The name humanity no longer meant small or primitive. It meant something else, something dangerous, something unbreakable. Elena sent one last message to Earth Command. The crawl kneel. The Council listens. Project Prometheus stays ready. We showed them once. We will show them again, if needed. She closed the channel and looked out at the stars. For the first time in many cycles, she felt peace, not the peace of safety, the peace of knowing humanity could face the dark and win. The storm had broken, but the sky stayed clear. Only because humans held the line. The crawl fleet limped home through jump space, leaving silence where war once roared. Earth turned slow and blue under peaceful stars. Colonies rebuilt fast. New domes rose on scorched moons. Fresh soil covered old craters. Children played in streets again, while adults worked longer shifts to make sure nothing like the crawl ever came close again. In the grand chamber, the crystal walls glowed soft silver, a rare, calm color. The 47 species sat in their places, quieter than before. No one shouted, no one laughed. The air felt heavy with change. Ambassador Vorak no longer stood tall. He sat low in his seat, gray skin, dull spikes broken. His eyes looked at the floor. The Silethi ambassador spread her wings. Slow. I move that humanity receives a permanent seat at this table. Full voting rights, full voice in all matters. A murmur ran through the chamber. Some nodded quick. Others hesitated, but none spoke against it. The Gelid chimed agreement soft and clear. The Voon thoughts flowed, gentle, across every mind. They have earned it. Their strength comes not from size but from heart. Elena Voss entered the chamber alone. She wore the same plain gray suit. No decorations. Her steps stayed even. She stopped at the center circle and looked around at faces that once dismissed her people. The council speaker, a tall crystalline being from the Luminar, asked, "Do you accept the seat offered, human?" Elena nodded once. "We accept. We join as equals. We bring our knowledge, our ships, our will. We ask only that the council remembers what happens when any species thinks another weak." Vorok lifted his head, slow. His voice came rough. "We, the Krawl, accept the terms. We pay the tribute. We release the prisoners. We leave your borders forever. We will not seek revenge." Elena looked straight at him. "Good words, Ambassador. Words must match actions. If they do not, humanity will return. We do not forget." The council speaker raised one glowing arm. "Then it is decided. Humanity joins the inner circle. The Prime Accord now includes your voice." Elena bowed slight, not low, but enough to show respect. She turned and walked out. The crystal floor glowed bright green under her boots, the same color it showed the first day she spoke. The color of respect, the color of warning. On Earth, Admiral Khalid Hassan stood on a balcony in New Cairo. The city lights stretched far below him. He held a cup of strong coffee. Steam rose slow into cool night air. A young officer approached, saluted crisp. "Sir, the last Krawl transport just left our space. They honored the terms. No tricks detected." Khalid nodded. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Go home to your family. Tonight we rest." The officer smiled wide. "Yes, sir. We earned it." Khalid looked up at the stars. He thought of lost ships, of brave pilots, of miners who turned stone into victory. His chest felt full, not with pride alone but with something deeper, gratitude for every soul who fought. On Mars, Rico walked red dust paths between new greenhouses. Young plants pushed through soil under clear domes. He stopped at a small memorial stone, names of the fallen carved deep. He touched one name, his squadmate who never made it out of the tunnels. "We did it, brother," he whispered. "You would like the view now. Green grows where only rocks stood before." A child ran up to him, holding a toy ship. "Made it fly fast, Rico," she shouted. "Look, it fights like the hornets." Rico laughed, lifted the child high. "Yes, it does. Fly high, little one. Fly brave." Far above in orbit, the carrier Resolute received upgrades. New armor, better shields, fusion cores that hummed smooth. Engineers from every human world worked side by side with alien tech, borrowed under treaty. They built not for war, but for readiness. Project Prometheus stayed hidden deep in asteroid mines, a quiet promise that humanity never slept. Elena returned to Earth. She landed at a small base outside Geneva. No crowds, no parades, just a few friends who waited with warm hugs. She walked to her office simple room, one window overlooking green hills. She sat at the desk, opened a secure line. To all commands, the war ends, the council listens, the galaxy changes. We stay vigilant. We stay kind when we can. We stay fierce when we must. She sent the message, then leaned back. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to close her eyes without worry. Months passed. Trade ships arrived at human ports. Alien merchants brought strange goods, glowing fabrics, living crystals, songs in languages no human knew yet. Children learned new words from alien teachers. Scientists shared data on stars, on life, on time. Diplomats met in quiet rooms to write new rules. One day, in the Grand Chamber, the Voon representative floated close to Elena. His thoughts touched her mind. Gentle. We once called your emotions chaos. Now we see they are strength. You feel deep. You fight hard. You forgive when possible. You remember when needed. We learn from you. Elena smiled, small. We learn from you too. Patience, order, beauty and stillness. We need both ways. The Salethi ambassador joined them. Her feathers shone bright. We propose alliance. Not just trade, real partnership. Ships together, research together, defense together. Elena nodded. We agree. Strong friends make strong peace. The chamber filled with soft sounds of agreement. The old order shifted, slow but sure. No longer did one species rule alone. Voices mix now, human voices among them, loud, clear, unafraid. On a new colony world called Haven, children gathered around a teacher. The teacher pointed at the sky. See that bright point? That is Sol, our first home, far away, but always close in our hearts. A small boy asked, will bad aliens come again? The teacher knelt low. Maybe someday, but we will be ready. We build, we learn, we stand together. That is what humans do best. The boy smiled big. Then I want to be a pilot, like the ones in the stories. The teacher ruffled his hair. Will be. And you will fly brave. Night fell on Haven. Stars filled the sky bright and many. Ships moved silent between them. Human ships, alien ships. Together they carried hope, cargo, dreams. Elena stood on a hill, far from cities. Wind moved her hair. She looked at the same stars. Khalid once watched. Rika once saluted. She spoke quiet to the dark. We proved them wrong. We proved ourselves right. Now we keep proving it, every day. A shooting star crossed the black. She made no wish. She needed none. Humanity already held the future in strong hands. Years later, a young recruit stood on a watchtower. New ship under her feet. Engines warm. She gazed at distant lights, where old battlefields once burned. Now gardens grew there. Trade routes crossed there. Peace held firm. She whispered to the stars, let them try us again. The stars stayed silent, but somewhere deep in every human heart, the answer waited ready, always ready. The council no longer stunned, the galaxy no longer sure. Humanity had arrived, not as guests, not as threats, as partners, as equals, as the ones who changed everything. And the stars kept shining, bright and endless, like human will.